Hello and welcome to Fernbank Science Center's The Sky This Week for September 19th through 25th, 2021. We begin the week with a full moon on Monday, this September's harvest moon. The first day of fall, the equinox, is on Wednesday, and there's some bright planets in the evening sky for observing. The moon is at its full phase on September 20th. Technically 7:55 p.m., so you might even see it as it rises, and it's called the harvest moon this year. The full moon that is closest to the date of the fall equinox, the September equinox, is called the harvest moon. We've been listening to some of the different names for full moons throughout the year. The harvest moon probably got its name from when everyone pretty much lived on farms and small villages. As the harvest approached, the end of summer, the beginning of fall, crops were ready to harvest, fruit, vegetables. To stay alive during the winter, harvest was a really important part of the year. Extra light at the evening added to the time for gathering those crops. And if you look at the way things are out in space, the grayish sphere is the celestial sphere. It looks to us when we stand down there on Earth as though we're looking up into the inside of a big soup bowl with the stars stuck on. The sun appears to move across a path among those stars, the ecliptic, throughout the year. That's the red dotted line. And at two times of the year, autumn and spring, when the angle between those two, the red dotted line for the ecliptic and the celestial equator, Earth's equator projected out into space, that angle is the smallest that it is for the whole year during spring and fall. So that means things in the sky are a little different looking. The full harvest moon appears to rise a little earlier each night than usual. As the Earth is moving along its orbit with the moon going around us, each night, the moon appears to rise about an hour later than it did the night before because it's moved along its orbit, and where we're standing has to turn and catch up to where we can see the moon. For the full moon near the equinoxes, that angle allows the moon to rise sooner, maybe 20 or 30 minutes earlier than the night before. So that gives a little extra light for gathering in those harvests. Very important. The September equinox, we could call it the fall equinox. For us here in the Northern Hemisphere, it marks the first day of fall. For our friends in the Southern Hemisphere, it's the beginning of their season of spring. And this year, that's on September 22nd, on Wednesday. Technically, 3:21 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time begins the season of fall. For our friends who are listening from further north on the Earth, it's already been feeling like fall, probably. The weather is cooler. For us here in the Atlanta area, it'll be a while before real fall sets in with cooler temperatures. But for us, it's the beginning of the season of fall for this year. And just as that angle allows the moon to set a little, or rise rather, a little earlier each evening, during the time of the equinoxes, the sun, as it sets due west, straight west on the sky. This is your chance to take a look at where you live, where does the sun appear to set on the Wednesday evening? That's exactly the direction west. It rose exactly the direction east as well. Then watch over the next couple of weeks. The sun will appear to set a little further south each evening until the middle of December, when it reaches its farthest southern setting point, west-southwest, and begins again its motion up toward the west, and then in the spring starts setting north of west. It all depends on where we're standing on the Earth and the angle at which we're watching. And it changes every night because the Earth has moved along its orbit a bit every 24 hours. For the south part of the sky toward the end of the week, keep an eye on the bright planets. This image is a little exaggerated on sizes. The larger, or the brighter images rather, are the larger dots on the screen. Venus, the one toward the southwest, largest dot, brightest of the star-like objects out there in the evening sky. Jupiter's next brightest. Saturn you'll have to search for a bit, but it's possible to find those. If you have a flat, clear south and west horizon, Keep an eye out for those toward the end of the week, if the clouds stay out of the way. And for Jupiter and Saturn, on here they appear kind of low in the sky. In reality, they're about a third or a fourth of the way up the sky. They're higher than they appear. Look between the S for South and V for Venus and see if you can find a fishhook shape that forms the constellation of Scorpion, Scorpius. Pedipalp sticking out, red star for a heart, long J-shape fishhook tail, sting on the end. The Scorpion constellation sort of looks like what it's supposed to be, one of the few that does. And right nearby is a teapot shape, the center of the constellation Sagittarius, the Archer. Zoom in a bit, see if you can find that fishhook for Scorpius and the teapot for Sagittarius. Fishhook, Antares, front of the Scorpion, teapot shape, Sagittarius, the Archer. That bright star in Scorpius, it's called Antares, anti-Aries, the rival of Mars. When Earth and Mars are lining up out there in space, if it's in this part of the sky, those two, Mars and Antares, make nice red dots on the evening sky. And as always, thanks very much for listening. Thank you for keeping up with Fernbank Science Center's website, www.fernbank.edu. Keep an eye on our Facebook page for our at-home planetarium programs on Friday evenings and for Saturday Science. And have a great week.